Mr. Attorney General, this is the first time we saw you and Nancy Mace together on stage together for an extended period of time. There was some pleasantries that seemed exchanged before the debate. How was that interaction, and were you surprised she didn't try to come after you for some of the criticism that you did last year?
Look, I don't know what her strategy was. My strategy was to come here tonight to talk to the people of South Carolina about my vision for our state, and that's what I was there to do. Also, I had a little bit of respect for the people that were up there on the stage. They actually bothered to show up. So I felt like this is an opportunity for us to be positive about our vision for the state of South Carolina, to talk about the issues that people are talking about. Obviously, you all heard affordability mentioned a lot. That is something that I'm hearing all around the state as I travel from one side of the state to the other. People are really struggling. And so how can we make government work better for them, or get government out of the way when it's creating problems for them? And that's what this debate was about for me. It was about a positive vision for the state. I didn't come here tonight to attack anybody. I came here to talk positively about what I want to do as your next governor.
Attorney General, how important is the endorsement of President Trump in this race?
Look, anybody in Republican Party politics in the United States of America would certainly want the president's endorsement. But at the end of the day, I think the people of South Carolina want a person of action who delivers results. Yes, they may love the president. We may all agree with the things that he's doing, but they want a candidate who can run on their own, can stand on their own two legs, not have to rely on endorsements to carry the day. So yes, would I want the president's endorsement? Of course. Do I support the president? Absolutely. But that's not what the people of South Carolina are looking for. They're looking for leadership, and they're looking for someone who will take the initiative and get results for them.
Attorney General, is there a moment that stood out tonight, and how are you feeling now that it's a done debate?
I mean, the whole night it actually happened really fast. I blinked and it was over with. It was amazing how fast it went. But I mean, honestly, just being able, talking to the people of South Carolina, I made it a point to try to talk to them in their TVs, because I don't know how many people were watching tonight, but I want people to know that the office of governor does not belong to anybody on that stage or anyone who refused to be on that stage. It belongs to them. This is a job interview, and I feel like I need to come out there and I need to communicate with my prospective bosses around the state, and that's what I did.
One of the few areas of parity, it seemed like, was conversation around the expansion of the state as the state continues to grow. What's your plan to deal with that, and how do you think that stands out compared to what you heard tonight?
So first off, we talked, it's hard to give a full answer when you've been given 45 seconds. So we were trying to shrink those answers down to bite-sized pieces. But it's not any one policy that's going to be able to take in the growth of population coming into South Carolina. As I said earlier tonight, they were talking about all these horrible places where South Carolina was ranked, but we're a great state. South Carolina is one of the #1 destination states for people to move by Wallet Hub and by U-Haul. So I was actually talking about that, and I wanted the people of South Carolina to know that we are proud of our state. But here's the thing. Our state is antiquated. It is antiquated in how we project growth. It is antiquated in how we administer ourselves, technologically speaking. We're 30 years behind the private sector. The Department of Transportation needs to be reformed. It needs to be restructured. We need to be using more advanced AI software. We need to be using better tracking software for the money that's being spent. We need to be innovative when it comes to transportation and infrastructure in our state. When people talk about funding crumbling roads and bridges, other states are doing things that are innovative. For instance, the largest landowner in the state of South Carolina is the state of South Carolina. That grass between the interstates, we own that. Why are we not monetizing it? Why are we not creating expressways and allow people driving through our state to pay for the privilege of driving on a tolled expressway? We can exempt South Carolina residents. Why don't we remove the impediments to putting gas stations and restaurants and private sector businesses at rest areas and charge a premium for the use? Why are we not leasing the easements on the sides of the interstates to fiber optic companies and telecommunication companies and energy companies and collecting revenue? Why are we not having mixed-use government buildings? There are so many, people talk about the gas tax as a primary way of funding infrastructure, but there's things that we can do that are innovative that other states are doing that we are not doing. So when it comes to infrastructure, we need to expand the ways that we're collecting revenue through innovation, through better, more efficient government administration, using better technologies. We need to restructure government, and these are the things that I'm going to be focusing on after I get sworn in next January.
Not to beat a dead horse, but you keep alluding to the people who didn't show up this evening, and of course, in the weeks leading up to this, Lieutenant Governor Evans' team, mostly attacked you in their decision not to run to show up tonight, saying that this was essentially a cooked deal to favor you, that the audience was supposed to be in your favor, that this was a set in stone thing by the GOP. Like, do you have any response to?
Well, absolutely. I mean, my lieutenant governor showed up tonight. My lieutenant governor candidate showed up tonight. I mean, for me, this was easy. I would have come here, had every single supporter of the other candidates been in the audience, and I had no supporters. I wasn't here to speak to that room. I was here to speak through the cameras to the people of South Carolina. Think about this, to everyone listening. If you were hiring someone to do a job, and you ask them to come in and do an interview with you, and they don't bother to show up, then do you hire that person? The four of us were up there tonight, and we all have our disagreements. We've all had our differences. You all covered it, but at least we showed up. And so, to me, this was a real opportunity to talk to hundreds of thousands of South Carolina residents to tell them why we should be hired to do this job. And tonight, I view this as a job interview, and I was asking the people of South Carolina to hire me to go to work for them.
Attorney General Wilson, you were mentioned, because Congressman Norman was talking about that $1 billion discrepancy on the state books. You mentioned about that too briefly. That is still in the state books in our ACFR that was just approved by SFA. Do you have any concerns about how that $1.8 billion discrepancy is still really seemingly not being addressed by anyone?
It's not that it's not being addressed, but there's ongoing legal oversight over this thing right now that we are indirectly involved with, so I don't want to comment on it. I think he misspoke when he didn't understand that there wasn't a missing billion or wasn't misspent, and I just wanted to correct that. There were a couple things the congressman said that I disagreed with. He said that you can't fire the next governor. You absolutely can fire the next governor. You do it in the elections. And so, yes, this is an important election, and if I fail to live up to the standards that the people of South Carolina have for their governor, they can fire me in 4 years. And for someone who's been in public life for nearly 2 decades, I don't know if that qualifies you as a career politician, but, you should know that.
Thanks, y'all.